So I've lived in Berlin, Germany for a number of years now, and I've seen some wacky and amazing things here in that time. Berlin is definitely not a dull or boring city. Actually, I would say it's one of the most creative and interesting cities in the world. And it's really very different from the rest of Germany. It's so different, in fact, that a lot of Germans from other parts of the country think it's a bit crazy here. With that in mind, I thought it would be interesting to explore some of the things that make Berlin such a weird, wild, and wonderful place. So today, let's take a look at some of my top picks for weirdest, wildest, and wonderfulest sites in the city, Los Gates. First of all, I'm going to show you some one-of-a-kind museums. Anyone who's been to Europe knows that there are some, shall we say, interesting museums here. And Berlin, of course, has its share of them. So, the first museum I want to show you is focused on one very well-known American cultural icon in Germany. It's the David Hasselhoff Museum found in the Mitte neighborhood. Now, I have to say, to call this a museum is a bit of a stretch. It's really more of a memorial to the Hoff, as his fans call him, and it happens to be hidden in the basement of a youth hostel of all places. Even though Hasselhoff's fame in Germany is sometimes seen as a bit of a joke in the US, over here, he's still a really big thing. You see, many Germans have loved the Hoff ever since he performed his song Looking for Freedom in front of the Brandenburg Gate back in 1989 for a New Year's Eve celebration.
One morning in June, some 20 years ago, I was born a rich man's son. I had everything that money could buy, but freedom I had none. I've been looking for freedom. I've been looking so long. I've been looking for freedom. Till the search goes on.
This happened just a couple months after the Berlin Wall fell, and taking a look at his awesome performance, I think I too have become a Hoff fan. Next is the Bud Spencer Museum. Unlike David Hasselhoff, I doubt you've heard of Bud Spencer. Neither had I, but he was an Italian actor who starred in many popular spaghetti western comedies. All of these were dubbed into German, and because his films were so popular here, this museum was built in Berlin in 2021 to honor him. It can be found not too far away from the Brandenburg Gate. Maybe some of you will recognize this clip from his most popular film, They Call Me Trinity.
You sure you two fellas are brothers?
Yep. Same mother.
Apparently, his real name was Carlo Pedersoli, but after a director suggested he change his name because it sounded too Italian, he changed it to Bud Spencer, with Bud being inspired by Budweiser beer and Spencer by the actor Spencer Tracy. So if you like spaghetti westerns, this might just be the museum for you. Okay, now let's check out some very original architecture in Berlin. One of the most interesting buildings in Berlin is the so-called Bierpinsel, or beer brush in the Steglitz neighborhood. This 47-meter high building was built in 1976 to house the Steglitz Tower restaurant. The building's name comes from its shape, resembling an oversized paintbrush. Over the years, it's been home to various restaurants, cafes, and event spaces. I hear it's scheduled to reopen in the next few years, though it has sat unused since 2010. This was the same year that some well-known street artists were brought in to repaint the exterior. And I think this makes it quite eye-catching. Hopefully, if and when it reopens, they'll keep the interesting exterior art just as it is. Another interesting example of architecture in Berlin is this Cold War relic known as Teufelsberg, or Devil's Hill, in the Grunwald neighborhood. This building, which sits on top of a hill constructed of rubble and debris from the Second World War, is a former US listening station called Field Station Berlin. It was built in 1963 to spy on Eastern Germany. The listening station remained in operation until the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Since 1996, the site has been privately owned, and it was open to visitors as a street art gallery in 2016. Today, it continues to be an interesting and evolving art space with a wide variety of works from many well-known street artists. stay tuned for my upcoming video all about the Teufelsberg. Next up is the Tempodrome, a multi-purpose event venue in Berlin's Kreuzberg neighborhood. This building was constructed in 2001 on the site of the Anhalter Bahnhof, a train station that was destroyed in the Second World War. The Tempodrome holds concert spaces and the Liquidrome, a large thermal saltwater bath fitted with underwater speakers to provide a multi-sensory spa experience. So I would say this isn't exactly your typical event center. The next site isn't a building at all, but rather a fountain. The Weltkugelbrunnen, or World Fountain, can be found in Berlin's Charlottenburg neighborhood. It was designed by a Berliner, Joachim Schmettau, in a redesign of Breitscheidplatz in 1983. Carved from red granite, it's meant to represent the globe with bronze figures depicting various cultures. Another unexpected feature of the fountain is a staircase that surrounds it. This leads down to the basement of the shopping mall, the Europa Center, that lies just underneath. The final building I want to show you is the Bürgermeister Burger Stand, located underneath the train tracks at Schlesisches Tor U-Bahn station in Berlin's Kreuzberg neighborhood. Other than its location, what's unique about this place is what it actually used to be, a public restroom. But don't worry, that doesn't affect the quality of their burgers. This was the first location of the Burgermeister chain, which started here in 2006. Burgermeister has since expanded to 14 other locations in Berlin and can also be found in multiple locations throughout Germany, including cities like Munich, Düsseldorf, Cologne, Leipzig, and more. To say that there are some uncommon sights in Berlin is of course an understatement. I think you can find pretty much anything you're looking for in Berlin. But I'm not going to get into all of that today. I just want to show you a few very Berlin places that, as far as I know, you can only find here. First, there's the Teledisco, also known as the smallest disco on Earth. That's right, for just a couple euros, you can have your own little dance party. There are 6 of these mini disco telephone booths found in Berlin, and I think they make for quite an uncommon experience. The Teledisco I just showed you sits right in the middle of another interesting spot, Holzmarkt 25, an independent cooperative community project. This spot can be found in Berlin's Friedrichshain neighborhood, and it was first established in 2012. What makes this place so interesting is that it's an urban village with its own restaurants, bars, shops, co-working space, creative and event space, and even a kindergarten. On top of that, it has its own sandy beaches. Well, to call this a beach is a bit of a stretch. It's more of a waterfront seating and play area, but locals still refer to this as a beach bar. Anyways, speaking of beaches, I think it's important to note that Berliners are particularly fond of the idea of bringing beach life to the city. This brings me to the last destination I want to talk about, which is a very popular place that lies about 50 kilometers away from Berlin. This is the Tropical Islands Resort, an epic tropical-themed water park in a small town called Kausnik. It's actually the largest indoor water park in the world, and what makes it really different is that it's located inside a former airship hangar, which itself is the largest freestanding hall in the world. Since its opening in 2004, it's attracted millions of visitors. I haven't gone myself, but I can definitely see its appeal, especially once the temperatures start to dip. Okay, before we wrap up this video, there are a couple more things I want to show you that I think you might find interesting or surprising about Berlin. One of the main things I love about Berlin is how green it is. It's one of the greenest cities I've ever lived in. Currently, about 35% of the city is covered by trees and green space. This really gives the city a very natural and wild feel. You see, in Berlin and in many other German cities, they let things go a little wilder and don't really manicure the greenery throughout the city. This might seem a bit strange at first, especially for anyone used to seeing carefully manicured green spaces in cities, but I really like the way they do it here. For example, here you will often find grass growing on streetcar tracks. And this sort of natural and wild approach also applies to wildlife. Having so much natural greenery means it's possible to find wildlife in the city. For example, I often see foxes, rabbits, and squirrels in the downtown. And believe it or not, just outside the downtown, it's not uncommon to find wild boars roaming around. Yes, you heard that right, wild boars. I just think that's awesome. And I don't know of too many other cities where this is the case either. Okay, so those are some of the weird, wild, and wonderful things you can see and experience in Berlin. And these things are just some of the highlights. Please let me know in the comments what you think about these weird, wild, and wonderful things, or if there's anything I missed. And, as always, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Tschüss, bis später.